well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. Not coming to you from Las Vegas today. Yeah, I kind of feel like that old Paul Simon song, The Only Living Boy in New York. I'm the only two-way guy, not a cha-cha. Not quite, but it feels that way. I think this is only the second SHOT Show that I've had to miss, but unfortunately, as you know, my wife has been fighting and largely winning against lung cancer for more than 6 years, but she did have to resume treatment a couple weeks ago, and between the lack of an immune system and the fact that I generally come back with what I call the SHOT Show crud, and the fact that last time she was on this treatment, her side effects were fairly significant and severe, I just didn't feel comfortable being 3,000 miles away this week while she was going through all that. However, I should note that Bearing Arms contributors John Petrolino and Ryan Petty are both at the Shooting Hunting Outdoor Trade Show, and I expect that you'll be hearing from them at bearingarms.com throughout the week. Meanwhile, today, we've got our friend Nikki Goeser with the Crime Prevention Research Center joining us, talking about her latest piece at Fox News. January is Stalking Awareness Month, and Nikki knows more than most of us the pain and devastation that stalkers can deliver to their victims. Nikki's husband, Ben, murdered in front of her by Nikki's stalker, who is now in prison and is slated to be released less than 10 months from now. And Nicole Goeser, ever since her husband's death, has made it one of her missions to help educate others on how to protect and defend themselves, not just with a firearm, but as we discuss on today's program, yeah, your right to keep and bear arms is an important tool when it comes to protecting yourself against a stalker. Take a look and a listen. Nikki, thanks so much for coming back on the program. It's so good seeing you again.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me on, Cam.
Absolutely. And I got to say, I mean, this was such a powerful piece that you have at Fox News. My stalker murdered my husband. Here's how you can protect yourself. January is, what is this, Stalking Awareness Month? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, it's National Stalking Awareness Month throughout the entire month of January.
Okay. And obviously, you know, with your terrible personal story to tell and trying to, you know, help other people avoid a similar situation, what are some of the tips that you have for individuals who, let's start with those who know that they have a stalker, right? Because this is something else that you get to that's very important in your piece. But what is your advice to women or men out there who know that they've got somebody who is harassing them, who won't leave them alone? What do you recommend?
Well, the first thing I recommend is that you keep some sort of a record of the stalking behavior. Try to keep close tabs on everything that's happening. And you need to let your friends and your family know about the stalker, who they are, if you know who they are. And like I said, keep a tight record on all of the behaviors and things that are making you feel uncomfortable and distressed. If it gets to the point where you are truly in fear, you probably need to contact law enforcement. You know, there's all kinds of things I talk about that victims choose to do to try and protect themselves. And a lot of the information out there that victims get, I don't think is thorough. There is good advice out there. And I started to do my own research after this happened to my husband and I. But I think there's information that's missing that victims need to be able to protect themselves. And that one piece of information that I think is so vital is the basic human right of self-defense and how important that is. You know, so many of these stalking experts, not going to say exactly who they are. You can probably figure it out for yourself if you go online and try to, you know, pretend that you're a victim of stalking and try to see what advice is out there. You're not going to find advice that says, you know, you've got the basic human right of self-defense. In the United States, we have something called the Second Amendment. And while you need to be very careful and very responsible, and you need to get professional firearms training. You need to learn about situational awareness. You need to learn about justifiable use of force when it's legal to actually use a gun in self-defense. But you might want to consider getting this training, and you can carry a gun legally. Check the laws in your state, but you have a right to protect yourself. And I think that is so important to tell people.
I do too. And you say that that people are not being told this. This bit of information is often left out, right? It's get a restraining order, change up your habits. I mean, good advice, but they're leaving out something very important.
Sure. Yeah. And I believe that, everything should be put out there. Don't leave anything off the table here.
Yeah.
I believe people can decide for themselves what is best for them and what will work for them in order to protect themselves. But why is this subject seen as so taboo? Like, why can't we discuss this? I think it's important. And yeah, I think that people can decide for themselves what they want to do. But put that option out there and let those people decide for themselves. And not only that, but show them different resources to make that happen. I mean, there's all kinds of professional firearms trainers around the country. Let these people know where they can go if they choose to do that. It bothers me that guns have been demonized in this country. And, I never blamed the gun. If anything, being a victim of a violent crime made me even more of a supporter of gun rights. I already was, but it has really made me realize how important it is as a victim of violent crime to be a voice, to say, look, guns are not bad. Guns actually save lives every single day in this country. But, you never know, because the mainstream media does not want to report on justifiable use of force stories. Now, at the local level, you'll see stories where, innocent people have protected their own lives or the lives of others. But you'll never see it on mainstream media because it doesn't fit their agenda. And I think, it really has an impact on how society feels about guns in America. And I think it's unfortunate. Even so many of these TV shows, these TV series, demonize gun owners, legal gun owners. They make you look like you don't know what you're doing, or that you mess things up for the police when you carry a gun, and gun owners do irresponsible things, when that's actually not true. Less than 1% of handgun carry permit holders do anything wrong with a gun.
No, that's absolutely right. And I do think that the media, particularly the national media, does try to warp the perspective of non-gun owners, right? I think they want to try to dissuade people from getting a gun and becoming gun owners themselves, exercising their Second Amendment rights. I think you're right when it comes to, defensive gun use and armed citizen stories. It's very rare. I mean, I listen, we have an armed citizen story every day on Cam and Company. I don't have trouble finding these stories, but it is very rare for one of those situations to get picked up and covered by the national news. There has to be some, really interesting component to it. Maybe there's some, big video. I remember the liquor store owner in California a few months ago who, this was caught on camera. 3 guys come running in with guns. He has his gun. He fires in self-defense. That got national news story because, again, there was that compelling video. But, the mom in Iowa who stopped 2 individuals from snatching her child last week because she had a gun. That didn't make national news, right? The 3 armed citizens in Georgia who put a stop to an armed robbery at a gas station where a armed robber held a 45 to a clerk's head. That didn't make national news. I think maybe the New York Post covered it, but that was about it. And most importantly, Nikki, I mean, when you see stories, and I see these stories all the time, of women who defend themselves against an abusive ex who breaks in their door in the middle of the night, those stories also rarely get covered too. And you're right. It does, I think, warp people. It has the intent of warping people's perspective on the right of self-defense. This is a fundamental right. This is an inherent right. And frankly, I hope it never gets to that situation for anybody. But there will be times, unfortunately, where, maybe someone listening to this podcast today is going to be in a situation where they are forced to protect their life or the life of another, or see that life lost. And you're right. I don't think we can ignore these difficult topics, particularly when doing so puts victims at risk.
Absolutely. And, so many people have said, well, why are you concerned about this? He's, your stalker's in prison. I'm like, well, yeah, he's in prison right now, but guess what? He's going to be released. This happens not only in my state of Tennessee, but all across the nation. I don't think people realize that, how often extremely violent offenders are released from prison and they're back out there and you don't know who they are. Now, I know, this man's name and I know what his face looks like. And I'm going to be very concerned when he's released. I have a lifetime order of protection against him, but an order of protection is only a piece of paper, and that is not going to protect you. And you may need to be able to protect yourself and your loved ones from someone who's extremely violent, especially someone with a violent criminal past who's released from prison. I think it's very, very important. And I just hope that my Fox News opinion piece reached a lot of people. And I hope that more people will choose to protect themselves legally with a firearm and get the proper training. That's so important. Understand the law in your state. That's very important because you don't want to get yourself in trouble with the law. And, practice, because you don't want to hurt innocent people trying to stop the bad guy. So you have to be a responsible firearms owner. But it is your right. And I want more people to protect themselves and their loved ones.
Well, like I said, it's such an incredible piece at Fox News. We're going to link to it in our story. And Nikki, again, I appreciate you so much, all of your activism, all of the work that you do day in and day out with the Crime Prevention Research Center, with your own personal activism. You are an incredible advocate for our right to keep and bear arms. And again, I really thank you not only for coming on the show today, but for using your voice and for taking your pain and your tragedy and trying to save others from being in a similar situation. I just can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everything that you do too.
I really appreciate Nikki coming on the program. I know it is tough to talk about. It's hard to listen to sometimes, but what she says is vitally important. And honestly, could save some lives. All right, let's turn our attention now to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day, and our recidivist report. We'll start there. Houston, Texas. Man already serving probation, now charged with murder. After one person was killed, another injured in two separate robberies in Houston's Midtown. Yeah, and again, this guy, no stranger to authorities, 25-year-old Emerson Hernandez has now been charged with capital murder, as well as aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon in two separate incidents that police say happened early last year, February 22nd, 2022. Yeah, it took a while for them to, develop the evidence and make an arrest. According to police, in the first shooting, which happened about 9:10 p.m. on February 18th, 2022. Officers arrived to find a 40-year-old man suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to a hospital in critical but stable condition. Minutes later, officers responded to a second shooting scene nearby, found another victim, Adam Phillips, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The 50-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. Further investigation identified Hernandez as the shooter in both cases. Last Wednesday, investigators found Hernandez in the Harris County Jail on an unrelated charge and then moved forward with additional gun charges against him in the February shootings. KHOU reports that a search of court records revealed that Hernandez was already sentenced to probation in May of 2022 for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. For that offense, 4 years probation. Yeah. Now, again, he was arrested and sentenced for that crime before. Apparently, he was identified as a suspect in the shooting and homicide, the unrelated shooting and homicides. But again, 4 years probation for armed robbery in Texas? Harris County. So maybe you've got some progressive prosecutors at work here. But, man, anytime I hear a gun control advocate talk about the need for, more gun laws aimed at legal law-abiding gun owners, and then I see stories like this, I just can't help but roll my eyes. And hopefully the Republican legislature in Texas might, try to ensure that individuals convicted or pleading guilty to violent crimes actually have to do a little time behind bars rather than being sentenced to nothing more than probation. Today's armed citizen story, Pocatello, Idaho, where police say a resident shot an intruder during a home invasion. This was last week. Shooting happened during a home invasion by two adult male suspects. This was late Wednesday night, according to Pocatello police, who say that the victim in this case, thankfully, was able to confront the two intruders, in part because he had a firearm. The homeowner subsequently shot one of the suspects. Both then ran from the home. The wounded suspect, located a couple of minutes later by police not far away, he was transported to a local hospital, then airlifted to a hospital in Salt Lake City for further treatment. Police still looking for his accomplice. They think they know who he is, but they have not released any identifying details. They say that no weapons were found on the wounded suspect when he was located by officers. Police say they're not sure if these suspects were armed during the home invasion, but you know what? That doesn't really matter. Somebody breaks into your home in the middle of the night, they're not there to give you Girl Scout cookies. They're not there to, play Tooth Fairy, maybe leave you a couple of bucks under your pillow. No, you can presume that if multiple individuals are breaking into your home late at night, they do not intend you goodwill, right? And I suspect that this shooting is going to be ruled justified, not only by the Pocatello police and the local district attorney, but frankly by the people of Pocatello as well. Finally today, our good deed of the day in the right place at the right time, well, unable to do the right thing. A off-duty police officer in Georgia who was able to save a neighbor's baby who had stopped breathing. Yeah, scary moments for Corporal Lindsay Metter, as well as the baby's family, obviously. This is in Gwinnett County, Georgia. Corporal Metter was off duty, hanging out at his home, and all of a sudden, he gets this frantic knock at the front door from his neighbor. Gwinnett County police say neighbor had said their baby stopped breathing. So Corporal Metter ran to the neighbor's home, began performing CPR on the baby. His wife calls 911. The baby apparently had had a seizure and had stopped breathing, but Gwinnett County Police says as a result of Corporal Metter's quick action, the baby made a full recovery, and he contributed to a positive outcome for this family. Congratulations on receiving the life-saving award, which was presented to him by the Gwinnett County Police Department. The award's nice, but I imagine not nearly as special as the thanks that he received from his neighbors. So again, in the right place, at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing. Corporal Lindsay Metter, we appreciate your very, very good deed. Now, that is all the time we've got for you on this edition of Bearing Arms Cam and Company. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, but there's no shortage of topics, that's for sure. It might be the quote-unquote assault weapon bans that we're seeing introduced in Massachusetts, Colorado, some of the most restrictive in the nation. Could be a legal update. I don't know. Again, there's more 2A news that we can shake a stick at right now. And it's tough to narrow it down to just one topic on each individual cam and company. Thankfully, we don't have to do that at BuriedArms.com. So I'd encourage you to visit the website where we are covering all of the 2A news that you need to know. And if you like what you see, I'd also encourage you to become a VIP member. All you have to do, go to BuriedArms.com/subscribe. Use the promo code GUNRIGHTS, and you can get a significant savings on your VIP membership. We'll be back tomorrow, one way or the other. And again, something dealing with... something big dealing with your right to keep your arms on the plate. Until then, be well, be safe, and be free.